WNYathletics.com would like to thank today's sponsors. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services. Ready to sell your home? Visit howardhanna.com today. Howard Hanna. Home happens here. Western New York Immediate Care, with 4 convenient locations in the Buffalo area: Amherst, Buffalo, Depew, Lancaster, and Orchard Park. Western New York Immediate Care is now offering telemedicine services to provide you care anytime, anywhere. Visit WNY Immediate Care on-site or virtually at WNYimmediatecare.com. Logistics Plus Buffalo is your go-to resource for all your transportation needs. LP moves freight of all shapes and sizes all across the world. Call LP Buffalo today at 716-877-9653 or email buffalo@logisticsplus.com. AdPro Sports. AdPro is the largest team sports dealers and brand merchandise providers in the nation. For a variety of custom merchandise solutions, from apparel to promotional items, visit adprosports.com. Empire Electric. For all your home, business, or office electrical needs, call Empire Electric at 716-634-0330. Free estimates and financing available for all customers. Empire Electric. Call 716-634-0330. Good morning, everybody. It's Frank from High School Sports Saturday. WNY Athletics, joined with Tom Prince. I've got Francis Beck here goofing off, trying to get things started for us. It is New Year's Eve. It's not New Year's Eve. It's actually New Year's Eve. We've got one more day. We've got less than, I don't know, I'm terrible with math, 18 hours to go, or?
Yeah.
15?
9 o'clock, so 3 and 12:15.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Close. I missed it the first time. But we got a decent show lined up for you today, I think. We're going to be talking high school sports. We've got Matt O'Rourke, the local high school wrestling guru, really the statewide wrestling guru, if you think about it. There's no one doing coverage of high school wrestling like O'Rourke the last couple of years, at least, since he's been on the scene. So it's going to be exciting to have him in studio, and we'll talk about what's going on there in wrestling. We got some big sectional duels coming up at Lancaster next week that I'm sure we're going to be behind the streaming of that one. In fact, I know we are. Couple news and notes. Number one, you guys may have read on Twitter. You may have seen a press release. WNY Athletics will be going to the NFHS network exclusively for our games for streaming. We think that's the best. That was the best decision as an organization we can make. We're trying to stay afloat here. Streaming is not free as much as we'd like it to be. It's not free. It's not, and it's definitely not cheap. So we're going to continue our NFHS affiliation and put our games there. Of course, all our highlight packages that you guys are up till 2, 3 in the morning doing will be shown. All our shows. This show, they're still all going to be out there. You won't need a subscription for it, but the NFHS network is subscription-based.
And keep in mind, this subscription will cover you through the entire year, which the playoffs are on the NFHS network anyway. So just think of it, you're just getting your playoff subscription early and getting access to everything.
Yeah, and I mean, we're high school sports junkies, the three of us. And there's a lot more of us throughout Western New York and the state. We have people that watch this show all down the 90. We don't just favor one school. I know you have kids that went through Orchard Park. We went through the Kenton School District. We don't favor those schools. We want to see every school, as many schools as possible. So having that NFHS network subscription it fills us, at least, fills the void for us. Just because Orchard Park's out doesn't mean you're not watching Lancaster or Sweet Home or whoever. And just because Maurice never makes the playoffs doesn't mean you don't want to watch Cheektowaga or Maryvale.
Not hockey.
I know. We always have this banter, you and I, and it's never going to end. Dennis Sarro loved it when we went back and forth, goofing on our different schools. But just, along that note, your teams, whether we see a lot of the same schools often go all the way to the state championships or the semifinal round. So if you want to see those public high school games, the championships, the playoffs, you have to have a subscription to the NFHS network anyways, and you can get it by month, or you can get a year-long subscription. So that's what we have. We went with the year-long. It was actually a little cheaper.
And keep in mind, we have plenty of games coming up to jump off of that this week. We got some boys hockey on Monday, Iroquois Alden against Bill East. Tuesday, we got a pair of girls basketball games, which we'll talk about. Wednesday, we got a girls basketball game. Thursday, we have a couple hockey games and basketball. So we're filling up our page. We're going to share those out, I think, later today or tomorrow. Some of our games coming up next week. But certainly we have a lot in store. And I think if you get a subscription from the NFHS network through us, you'll certainly get your money's worth.
Yeah, and, you don't just get Western New York. You'll get games that are being broadcast on the NFHS network all across the country. So, you can watch teams in Indiana. You can watch teams in Ohio, Illinois, really, California, across the country. Anybody that already has their games on the NFHS network, you're going to get all of that. Plus, they have on demand. So even if you start your subscription today and you want to see CSP win a state championship a few years ago, you can go back and look at those games. Every school has their own page already. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, and it's actually the way of the future. Everything's going to be behind these paywalls. Anyways, we've been fighting it since day one. But unfortunately, we're not in a position where we can continue fighting that battle. It's a losing battle. We found out the hard way, and this is where we are. So we appreciate you sticking with us. Another news and note that I wanted to tell you folks about is recently we were contacted by the New York State High School Football Coaches Association. We've talked about this behind closed doors. We are now in a partnership with them, so we will be kind of like the social media guys for them at their marquee events. They've got a big one coming up at the Turning Stone Casino for all you high school football coaches across the state. They're all going to be heading down towards just past Syracuse near Utica there, your old stomping grounds. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be covering that event for them. We're going to be putting out some publications on their website, the New York State High School Football Coaches Association. Tim Delaney's on that committee, so he introduced us to them, and we had a nice conversation. Couple of nice conversations with that organization. We're ready to go. They also do that 7-on-7 each year out in mid-July. They did it last year at Cortland. They normally have it there. Cortland's having some renovations done, so they don't know if the event will take place there officially, but it'll be somewhere in that neck of the woods. So in WNYA Athletics, we'll be going down on behalf of this Coaches Association to cover that for them. We'll have photographer down there, videographer. Tom, you'll be doing some interviews, I'm told. Are you?
Sounds good.
Francis will be on the scenes, and then we'll be doing that. Tom, what kind of news and notes you got going on this Saturday morning?
I mean, as everybody probably seen, I've been a little quiet the past couple of weeks, right?
Who are you?
I had to take a little time and get to myself rejuvenated for the run now for basketball and baseball and softball and what we're going to see right here. So I think my news and notes is going to come more within when we get to what I'm going to talk about today, which is I think we're all going to cover different sports. You've got hockey. Francis is going to cover girls basketball. I'm going to cover boys basketball. And then I've also got two tidbits for girls track or cross country to kind of finish things off for them. I know their cross country season is over, but we've had a couple national spotlights that we definitely want to talk about here.
Yeah, and maybe we can even get into spend some time with the bowling too, because bowling boys and girls is going strong. Like to get a couple bowlers in the studio to talk about them and get them some much needed coverage. And of course, when O'Rourke's around, we don't want to get tongue-tied talking about wrestling. He knows what's going on there. So I see Gage LaPlante's doing very well from Star Point. I also see Cam Catcherbone from Will North is doing extremely well. And so a lot of wrestling going on all over the state. And
the whole Star Point team as a whole is doing
they're
well
very
right
good
now.
Yeah, and we saw that coming. So let's get into the show here. Francis, why don't you bring us up to date on girls basketball, unless you want to talk about some of the games you did last night. You had Stu Boyer and Mark Simon out of Kenmore West. You had 2 games back-to-back. How did those games go?
Yes, we had 2 games back-to-back. The Kenton Boys Holiday Tournament. Some weaker teams, unfortunately. Teams. I think those 4 teams combined, they had 1 win going into this tournament. So some teams that are certainly struggling out of the gate. But our first game was a fantastic one between Cheektowaga and Sweet Home. You saw Sweet Home get off to a big lead. They were hitting from outside very well. I think they had a 9-2 lead early on, but Cheektowaga is they were just so athletic, and they just stayed with their game and pulled that one away. It was close till the end. I think Cheektowaga won it by 5, and this game was really within that range for most of it. Really good game. Second game didn't turn out as well. Kenmore West got the better of Kenmore East. I think it was like 73-42, something like that. West did pull away at the end. You can tell both of these teams are. I know you saw Kenmore West.
No. I wanted to say is I think now we understand the reason why he wanted you to talk about those games last night, right?
Yeah, I know.
It is what it is.
They did fight back. I will say this: Kenmore West started the 19-2 lead, and East came back and pulled within 5 in that first half. I think in the fourth quarter things got a little bit away from them, but they put up a valiant effort. Patrick Molnar was big inside for East, and then we have Harlan Brannon and Chris Hargrave, who I spoke to last night, which I still got to post on social media today. Post-game interview, just talking with them about their season, getting this win over their rival, and seeing what they can do to try to maybe turn things around a bit as we go into the new year.
So a couple things there. I mean, Ken West, this is the first year in years they haven't had a big, right? I mean, they're playing a different brand of basketball than they have in years.
Well, you're right, and that was the thing that kind of struck us with Stu when we were with Mark Simon, is that East had all the big guys. And that was why Molnar kind of had the success he did, because there was nobody from West who can match his size. But you're right. There's no real big guys for West.
So you're changing. Like I said, you're changing the brand of basketball there. Sweet Home's got Theodore sitting on the bench right now. He's injured. Did he play in that? He hasn't played yet, right?
He might be out for the season.
So here's a very good player that they're missing right now that's on the bench. He felt when I had talked to him that he was going to get a chance to play. And I'll tell you, I got a chance to see him on the bench in the game against Amherst, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, if this kid was on his feet the entire game, acting as a coach even on that side of the bench, because he was so passionate about his team and making sure his team was good. I'm telling you, that's a big, not only player when you talk about points on the board, but a leader that you're missing right there out on the court.
Let's talk about Molnar, too, for just a second. Here's a kid who lost an entire baseball season, got injured, lost his entire junior year. I believe he's a senior now.
Yeah.
So how did he look on those knees? Because I think he had a bad knee last year. That's what kept him out. I believe that was the injury.
No, he looks good. And even later on, where East is really getting a lot of their successes when they broke through the Ken West press. And it was a lot of times Molnar taking the ball from maybe getting it around the three-point area and driving to the hoop and scoring. So it wasn't just like the static, I'm going to stand in behind the hoop and try to make some moves. No, he was driving at the basket and making plays.
I remember him as an 8-year-old when I was coaching baseball in the town, and he was the biggest kid. I thought he was driving himself to the games at 8 years old. That's how tall this kid was. I said, do you have a son that plays here? I mean, this kid was a monster at 8 years old, and just to see him grow up to be a senior there, and I wish that kid the best. He's a real good kid, comes from a great family. Moving on here. So, Francis, girls basketball in particular, we got a lot of games going on this weekend. Who's standing out right now? Is there a player? We all know Gretchen Dolan from Williamsville South. We know Bree Barr from O'Hara. We know some of the players, but what's going on in girls basketball right now?
Well, we'll start in Southwestern with Reese Beaver. She is right now the section's leading scorer, 197 points in 7 games. It doesn't have the average for me, so I can't do the math. You don't want me doing the math, but obviously she's doing very well. 28 assists, 29 three-pointers this year, and 16 rebounds. So she is the story down Southwestern. Of course, we have Haley Steinfeld out of Orchard Park leading the way. You mentioned Gretchen Dolan, 162 points in the year in a couple games. She's doing very well. As far as teams, I personally saw a few weeks ago Nichols play Will South, and you look at I had Nichols' schedule up here. They are right now could be one of the hottest teams in all of Western New York right now. They're 8-0. They have big wins. They beat Newport. They beat Aquinas. They beat Clarence. They beat Will South by a pretty good margin. And and you look at this team, and last year it was kind of the Bree Barr show. I mean, she was big inside. She gave O'Hara some fits, but you could kind of tell, especially in that semifinal against O'Hara, I believe they played in semifinals, that she couldn't do it by herself. Well, now she really has somehow. She had some of her teammates have really stepped up this year and played well. It starts with Quinn Benchley, their point guard. Just a very strong shooter, able to make plays. And then they also have Lillian Colpoys, who is related to the Colpoys family. And then, where's the freshman? Actually, we're going back to another Kenmore West connection. I'm looking for a first name. It's Meats, who was former
Mike Meats'
Mike
daughter.
Meats, yeah. And this is a real team. They have some players, and I think I'll talk about O'Hara in a second, but this...
So wait, where's Meats playing?
At Nichols.
Okay, wasn't she in the Will South program too, though? I remember...
Let me look at the rosters. I thought she was a
in
freshman.
the Will South program at one time. Which is no big deal. It's not a big thing.
Okay. Why can't I find her? Maybe it's someone else. I can't find her on the roster right now.
I was going through the schedule, though, Francis, and I think the one game that's coming up is the Thursday night game, and I want to say it's at Nichols, but that's the O'Hara-Nichols matchup.
Well, the 5th is going to be...
O'Hara and St. Mary's.
O'Hara, St. Mary's, yeah. Thursday the 12th is O'Hara and Nichols. Yeah. I think that's going to be the game of that week.
O'Hara and Nichols?
O'Hara-Nichols is the 12th.
Yeah. O'Hara, St. Mary's, yeah, but, I mean, if you're looking at O'Hara's schedule... or their record, and you see 3-4. Their 4 losses are from premier teams around the country. It's not like they lost to, Sisters of the Poor down the street. They didn't. They've played Cathedral Prep in Erie, and they were just.
Where did you come up with that?
Dick Gallagher came up. That was his Sisters of the Poor.
I was about to say, I knew I heard that before.
But they had a somewhat successful trip down to Florida recently. I want to say they beat at least one team down there.
Up here. Let's see. So the week before Christmas, they played a team from Connecticut and a team from Maryland. Lost to both. Then they have a 1-3. They beat Owen Roberts out of Pennsylvania. And I think they won. They're not listed in their max preps, but I believe they won a couple games this past week. I think they went to. Oh wait, no, their tournament in Elmira was
Florida.
canceled.
They were stuck in Florida.
Yeah, they played a few games.
I know before that Nichols game is Lancaster, Tom, and I think that's a game that we're going to have to get out there and do. Is that, I mean, if we may have to do two O'Hara games in the same week. I mean, that's O'Hara and Lancaster, then O'Hara and Nichols.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you at all.
But think about that from O'Hara's perspective. That's 2 big games in 1 week. You have Lancaster, and 2 days later you got to be set for Nichols, which that's really going to test these girls right there.
They've been tested.
And
they've been tested.
You need to be more set for that Nichols game, even than the Lancaster game, because it's a conference game.
Yeah, St. Mary's and Nichols are their 2 big games coming up. I know Sacred Heart is kind of at the back or middle of the month there, so those are some of the teams we're definitely going to be looking at. I talked to Russ Battaglia, does camera for us, and does the Will South girls. He said that team is starting to come together to some degree. Obviously, Gretchen Dolan's the marquee player there, he said, but he thinks that they're going to be able to compete once they get into their conference schedule. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know when Hamburg's, but that's a team that they're going to have to compete with.
Well, let's. It's going to be you got Strack on one side, you got Dolan on the other side, right? Yep. Now it's going to be those 2 neutralize each other out. What's the supporting cast for each team going to do to be able to win those games?
Let's jump back though to Lancaster because we are going to broadcast their game this week. They're going to host Jamestown Wednesday night 7:30. We'll have Stu Boyer, Paul Catrone on the call for that one. But yeah, they're off to a big year. Jamestown is off to a good start. That's going to be a big one in ECIC 1. This team, we'll see what they can do in that one. We'll see how Jamestown travels up here.
We'll have to bring in Tim Linder, too. He's a girls basketball guru. He gets out there. He's like Chad of center court with the boys. Tim Linder does the same thing for the girls, just maybe not as out there as Chad is.
Yeah, I know
social
he put out
media,
his
but he
rankings
does.
last week.
Yeah, he does a good job of that. Chad was actually he wants to get in too, to do a show with us. So we'll get Chad in here, center court, talk about the boys, and we'll get Timmy Linder in here to talk about the girls too, because I think those are the two guys that really have their finger on the pulse, outside of you two guys that are banging against the
we
wall.
100%
Last,
agree. Two of the best. Two of the absolute best right there.
To finish up girls basketball, our other game I should just pull up our schedule here, which will go out on social media either today or tomorrow. Tuesday we have Hamburg Iroquois and then Falconer Climber. Those are both Tuesday. Wednesday we have Lancaster and Jamestown. And then Saturday is going to be Jamestown and Will North. So we're going to have plenty of girls basketball next week. Then, of course, we're going to take a long look at those O'Hara games. We don't love doing a bunch of teams back-to-back, but when the matchup's there, we kind of have to do it. So you'll be seeing plenty of Lancaster. So another reason to get that NFHS subscription. We have a lot of Lancaster. We have a lot of Iroquois coming up. And we're going to be having some O'Hara, I think, in Nichols, too. So
That's a good thing.
yeah.
We're going to get as many teams as we can, but we do want to focus on those premier matchups that are in high demand that people want to see. And, of course, worst case scenario, you can always drive to the game, too.
Or watch on the NFHS network.
Well, you got alternatives. Anything else for girls basketball that needs to be shared?
I did want to point out Brian Bakes from Wilson. He put up on Twitter. He has some players putting up great performances. He put out, was it Rion Ferry had a double-double in their first game against Springville, and then in their game against Lockport, she had a triple-double. And then Peyton McInnes had a double-double against Lockport. So
Wilson's doing very good so far out of the gate, and they play that tough schedule, too, to get them ready for conference play because, correct me if I'm wrong, but they'll be battling against Southwestern at some point.
Well, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They
put
need together a big non-league schedule.
Yeah.
In there. So they'll certainly be a team to keep an eye on in the small schools as we go forward.
Excellent. Good job, Francis, on bringing us the latest and greatest in girls basketball. Tommy, my man, who has been MIA, recouping because he's been run from one side of the state to the next. Tired. I know you're tired, but
No, I listen. I also had to catch up a little work too, right? I do work outside of this, right? But no, I mean this is just the calm before again that we ramp things back up, and you'll see that I'll be starting to get out again next week to start doing stuff. But the boys, when we talk about basketball here, can you believe already early in this season we've had 20 scorers that have scored over 30 points in a game?
20 kids?
20. Well, two of them were duplicates.
Okay.
Right? Jalen Duff did it twice, and so did Jordan Alexander. Oh, I'm sorry. And third was Derek Ebersol, who did it for North Collins.
Oh.
Derek Ebersol leads the way with North Collins, 43 points against Portville. Jordan Alexander did it who's at Amherst, 37 against Louisville Central in Kentucky. Also had against Starpoint 32. Duff did 33 against Lakeshore and 33 against Newfane. But you've talked about, look at this list and some of the names that you're going to recognize. Alexander Fletcher, Niagara Wheatfield, 34. Ray Cortez, Silver Creek, 34. Lucas Lamborghini Bennett, 32. Trey Drake, Jamestown, 32. Nate Arrington, Frontier, 32. Amir Lindsay, in International Prep, 31. Tyon Sanford, MST, 31. Justice Kleitz, Iroquois, 31. Carson Swanson, Westfield, 30. Giovanni Rivera, South Park, 30. Bobby Beeline, Lewiston Porter, 30. Jaden Harrington, Bishop Timon, 30. Parker Ray, Nichols, 30. And Nick Jacobson with Chautauqua Lake, 30.
Nice. I'm sorry, but when it comes to social media and boys basketball, if you're not following center court, you're just embarrassing yourself, especially if you're a big-time high school basketball fan. His tweets last night from Franny's were just painstakingly hilarious. Coach Ferris, oh my God. Did you see that?
Yes. Wait, do you have
Ferris?
it up? We got to read it out.
No, just go to Chad's Center Court Twitter
You're
page.
gonna make me look it up? Is that what you're gonna
I'm
do?
on it right now. I just can't believe that he tweeted this, and I love him for it. But Chad, I'm gonna have a Perrier for you today, buddy.
That's what you will have too.
You're going out to Franny's today,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Let me bring up the two.
That's for the championship. So
Yeah,
yesterday was
so
kind of a.
the
Franny's versus Health Sciences.
for both games.
Oh, what time is that Franny's Health Sciences game, by the way?
So the first game is gonna be. I have it on my phone here. So the consolation game, which is gonna be, I believe, Lancaster and Will East, is gonna be 3:00, and then the championship game, which is obviously St. Francis Health Sciences, that is gonna be at 4:30, right here on Western New York Athletics.
I think I might have to stop by there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have Joe Daniel. It's the Live Like Luca tournament. If you guys might remember from a couple years ago, a young boy from the South Towns, from the Hamburg area, who passed away, I believe, due to childhood cancer. So we're gonna have his dad on to talk about the foundation, what they do, and everything. I know Joe Daniel, who's calling those games. He's very close in that community, being in that Hamburg community. That foundation helped his group out in the South Towns, one of his youth sport leagues. So that foundation's done great things. So it's going to be great to honor them today.
Cool. Who's Joe working with on those games?
Tim Chifa.
Chifa. Okay. Sweet. Awesome. All right. And so Health Sciences and Franny's?
Yeah,
the
that'll be
finals.
the second
All right.
game. The first game is Lancaster Will East.
Okay. All right, cool. What time is that when tip-off?
First game is at 3:00.
Okay. And there's no way that set game's starting at 4:30.
No,
Tom.
it's probably that's
no way.
gonna.
That Lancaster game's going to go to double overtime. I'm just calling it right now.
Oh God.
And Lancaster has a new coach there, too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll have to welcome him. We haven't talked to him yet, I don't believe.
yeah. I
since
believe
he's-
it's Tony Watson
Yeah.
from. And I forget the organization he runs, the gym he runs out in, I think, Tonawanda with Ron Middleton.
that my son played at that Healthy Buffalo. That's where it is. That's where we see the kid
I
from
think it's
Niagara
called Pro
Wheatfield.
Training. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called
Xander
Pro Training.
Fletcher's out there.
Yeah, they got a lot of. There's
Yeah.
a lot of Niagara County. It's a lot of top players. I know.
Yes, they do a great job.
Yeah, who was the kid from Tonawanda that was there? Obviously, he was with Coach Middleton.
Oh yeah, he's graduated. He was always a top
Oh,
scorer.
Boiling, Trevin Doiling. Boiling.
Boiling, yeah.
Um,
What else is going on with boys basketball? Tom? Anything that we need to know that's that you haven't already mentioned?
Well, all I mentioned was you talked about was the 30-point scores so far this season, right? But what we've seen early on,
Niagara Falls.
yeah, Niagara Falls is the team that we've got to talk about, right? You've really seen them come out of the gates 8-0, wins over North Tonawanda. They went out to Utica, Utica Academy of Science, McQuaid they've beaten, Ken West, Lockport, St. Joe's, and St. Joe's a 62-39 victory in that game that was. Then they just went out to Rome.
Hang on. In that Joe's game, weren't they without a guy too? Didn't they?
Yes, they were missing.
And they were
their guy,
missing
yeah.
a top player.
and that was the number 3 team in the area that they beat by a fairly decent margin.
As I said, 62-39. That's that was the score. And then they win against Rome, 62-59. Then go Green Tech Charter School, win against that, 56-50. This team's for real, you guys.
Did we do a Green Tech Charters? For some reason, that's jumping out. We've done that team.
Weren't they one of the state championship teams last year?
I don't know, but
that were out there.
That name's sticking out to me. They beat them?
Yeah.
Wow.
56-50. He's and you know, if you follow Carlos Spradberry, the head coach, he's really trying to get people to buy into the system, and they really are.
When you're winning like that,
well,
how can you not?
But he's put the work to get into win like that. That's the difference. You can really see the off-season workouts, what he's done, the weight room, what he's done, the grades to make sure that he's done. He is doing the total package and really deserves a lot of credit for this early start for his team.
we need that's what we need out of that football team too.
Yeah.
Can Carlos coach football?
We'll have to ask him, right?
We should.
You know, but listen, off to already fast starts, right? Lancaster right there. Health Sciences, who they've already played here early on, right? They're going to see each other, and that was a good game. That semifinal game was close for for a while. Lancaster, a very tough physical team, right? Led by Harrington right there. And that is really going to be a team to watch out inside the double A's. But Lancaster, Health Sciences, Jamestown should be the 3 teams in there that should fight for those spots against Niagara Falls. Again, that's what you're seeing early on in the mix. I know Orchard Park lost a close one to St. Mary's a couple weeks ago. They were missing one of their players in that one, went down with an injury, which hurt them. Then they went against their next game in that thing was missing Dylan Evans. So they're really looking to get that team all complete and ready to go. But I think right now your top 4 teams definitely in at least Double A: Niagara Falls, Lancaster, Health Sciences, Jamestown, in no particular order though. The A1 that we're out there talking about, this is kind of that wide open here. Niagara Wheatfield is absolutely, we already know, led by Xander Fletcher, will be leading the way. Niagara Wheatfield looking to try to repeat out there again. You've got International Prep with an early 6-2 record. McKinley at 5-1. McKinley looks very good in the Amherst tournament that we saw out there. They've got bigs that can run the floor. I think McKinley is going to be a very tough out in this division. And it should be really fun to see the guards go head-to-head, Niagara Wheatfield and McKinley in this one. The question will be for Niagara Wheatfield is, can you keep up with some of the bigs, especially Borden down low, what he's capable of doing. That will be the big key for a Niagara Wheatfield, I think, in that one. A2 to me, this is Amherst. Amherst just is not good. You potentially this year at Amherst could be talking about 2 players that could be up for first team All-Western New York.
Okay.
2. You don't hear that much on a basketball team, right?
Well, you're going back to the Newport days.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
It's
you're
rare.
Going back a long way. You don't normally hear it. But when you've got right now Nick Moore and Jordan Alexander both on the same team doing what they're doing, this team is going to be tough. And I'll tell you, that defense is what I was probably most impressed with the Amherst Tigers so far. They've got a very swarming defense is what they do. And the defense comes from the top of the key.
Yeah.
Right? When you think about when you go to a 2-3 zone, probably the one we always talk about the most is Syracuse when you go to a 2-3 zone. And what you do is you talk about the length of Syracuse, especially down low, right? The bigs and the length, because they cover the floor and cover the baseline real well. So what they're making you do is kind of push you out of that zone is what they're trying to do. So think about this. They've got a zone where it's not necessarily the length that's down low. It's up top and the pressure that the guards do, because they will very quickly cause a double team up at the top of that key and make you get the ball out of your hands, and that's where the steals happen. So it'll be very key to see what happens when they get a chance to play against some of the top guards in Western New York that can actually get through that. That's the one you're waiting to see for a game against Amherst.
So Iroquois, is that a non-league game then for them?
Yeah, Iroquois.
Okay.
Iroquois is a B1 school right there. So absolutely, we'll see here. You got B1 right now. Probably, I would say, is 4 early teams that have separated themselves early in this one. I should say even 5. Lewiston Porter, which we already know, right? We talked about Beeline as one of the 30-point scorers, and you got possibly the best point guard returning back to your school in Jalen Duff. And Duff just is something to watch. And he, with 2 30-point games already, he really is something to watch for the basketball. So you talk about Lewiston Porter, Depew, Pioneer, Iroquois, and then the team I always say whenever we do a broadcast, never forget, don't forget about Olean coming from the South Towns either.
Yeah, they always seem to get it together once playoff matchup.
And then the B2 right now is kind of one of those wide open ones. Early on, I like what you're seeing from Allegheny Limestone. They're coming out of the gates. They're a perennial team that we've seen go to, Buff State as of late. Fredonia with an early start at 5-1. Don't forget about Salamanca. Salamanca at 6-1. That's a very good team that has been showing it year after the year. Go ahead.
Salamanca, Allegheny, Amherst, 3 teams you talk about, were all in Glens Falls last year.
Yeah. I mean, these are all very good teams that we're going to see competing for that spot. And think about it. Amherst, Salamanca, right, are all teams that were returning players, too, that were key players in those victories to be able to get back there at the same exact time.
And then you got Ethan Fry over Fredonia. They're having a pretty good season as
Yep.
well. I believe they've only got one loss on their...
Yeah, 5-1.
So, yeah, you're going to have a hell of a battle at B2. We're going to see some interesting teams at Buff State. We're definitely can't wait for that.
And in the C division, probably the team that may be the biggest surprise to everybody in Western New York, Holland, off to a 6-0 start, a big win over Pioneer already this season. So Holland, absolutely a team. Randolph, we know will be sitting right there as a team to be reckoned with inside that division. Gowanda with an early start in this one, and Silver Creek, we already talked about with a big score in that one, off to early starts.
Global Concepts. They're usually a team that's in the mix.
Absolutely. I mean, they're 4-2 right now, and their losses were Fredonia, and their losses were Cardinal O'Hara. Wins Olmsted, Buffalo Science, Grand Island, and Springville. So what you want to see is you're looking for that first big matchup, really, that will happen inside their division to see them come up big in there.
Yeah.
And then the last one, which is the D. You've got Clymer at 5-2, Panama 5-0, Westfield 5-3, and Maple Grove 4-3. This is another going to be a very fun division that we're going to be able to see. Even North Collins, which we the 3-3, Ebersol, right, with a 42-point game. We already seen that he's someone to be reckoned with out there. But at the same time, even in a game that you talked about, Frewsburg, who went head-to-head with North Collins. Now, I understand that Frewsburg is a C team, right? But Frewsburg actually went against North Collins.
Yes.
And actually had a 105-59 victory against them. So you get a little idea of how strong some of those C teams that are out there. And this is going to be a really fun season to watch. And we've got some very good and very top prolific scores inside Section 6 that we're going to be talking about throughout the season.
All right, Tom, awesome job as always. And Francis, of course, with the girls basketball. We'll get into boys hockey after a break from our sponsors. You're watching High School Sports Saturday on WNYathletics.com.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
You're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
We realize now more than ever is the perfect time to have the perfect house. We're confident we'll find your dream home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Welcome back to WNY Athletics High School Sports Saturday. I'm Frank Wolf, joined by Tom Prince and Francis Beck, who's pulling double duty. He's commenting and he's producing the show all in one. We'll have Matt O'Rourke coming up in just a little bit here on the program, talk high school sports wrestling. And Tom, you want to finish up with Monsignor Martin? My apologies.
Monsignor Martin, this is going to be a fun division, you guys. I mean, really, you could say every team right here is in the mix at this. Bishop Timon currently 4-1, Canisius 3-2, St. Joe's 4-3, St. Francis 2-3, St. Mary's 3-3, the Park School 3-2, Cardinal O'Hara 4-3.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see all right in the mix. Timon and Canisius have already played, right? And in that game was a great game, came right down to it. Canisius wins that one 73-69 in that game. So you're already seeing that they're starting to play, but we're going to see great games. And I think you're going to see night in and night out that you're not going to be surprised on one team beating the other at this point, right? So Canisius beats Timon, right?
Yep.
But St. Joe's beats Canisius 48-45.
Yeah.
Right? I think you're going to see this. And now, would I be then surprised to see Timon go in on January 20th and then beat St. Joe's.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all at this point. Great division. I think every game you could be talking about is a top matchup. And then even, let's look at Nichols. Nichols even off to a fast start, right? Nichols is 4-0 early on. They just haven't played anybody in league yet, right? But early on, Nichols off to a fast start with wins over Middle Early College, Lockport, a win over Aquinas, 67-61, and then a win over City Honors. Parker Ray is one of the top players leading the way out of there. We've talked about him since he was a freshman at Orchard Park. And I'll tell you, I think he's now got his time to shine. Had an injury early on last year, if you remember, was trying to get acclimated into the system, during the year. But I think right now with Jalen Duff not there, this may be his team right now to try to take advantage of and show the way for Nichols. But this is going to be a fun season and a fun division. When you look top to bottom, probably the best division in Western New York.
Yeah. Excellent, Tom, as always. Getting into hockey action here. Boys hockey, we'll start there. Currently, a number of teams still have not lost a game. Lancaster out there at 6-0, 5-0 in the division. And then, of course, in the division, Will East at 4-0. They do have 2 losses, but nothing in their division. So those are some of the hotter teams. Kenmore East off to a strong start, as is Grand Island and Niagara Wheatfield, doing very well. On the boys' side, with Monsignor Martin anyways, St. Francis is at 4-0 and 3-0. But I think they have a big game coming up on Monday against St. Joe's.
Yeah, they're facing St. Joe's, and then we can't forget about Iroquois Alden right now at the top of that ECIC 2. It's going to be them and Will East. That's also happening Monday.
That's the big
that
game.
Could very well decide top small school seed come playoff time. I know Kenmore East and Grand Island and Wheatfield are going to have something to say about that, but right now to start the year, that's going to be a very important matchup.
And you got Braden Axelson of Iroquois Alden. He's got 18 goals, 10 assists, leading the Fed with 28 points overall. Bobby Wegrin from Niagara Wheatfield's right behind him with 16 goals. And then Luke Marchand of Clarence has 15 on the season. Those are your top goal scorers. I want to talk about, to me, the comeback story of the year is how about Damian Ish from Kenmore West, who lost an entire season, had I believe it was leukemia that kept him out for a whole year, and he wasn't supposed to play hockey again, and here he is. He's got a goal on the season, and he's got 2 points, so it's good to see Damian Ish of Kenmore West out there playing hockey again.
Axelson also coming off with a big injury, so missed the entire baseball season due to a hockey injury last year. Didn't get a chance and had to rehab all the way into late in the summer, as he was actually trying to commit to play baseball right there.
There you go.
And look at what he's already doing coming out of the gates right here in hockey.
Yeah. So, Francis, what hockey games do we have this week in terms of boys hockey?
Yeah, we're going to do the Northtown triple header Thursday night special. So we'll start at 4:30 Thursday. Hughes against Cash, the girls'
Well, that's
game.
girls hockey. What do you got for boys?
Well,
we'll get into
the
girls.
boys' game will follow them.
Oh.
And then at 6 o'clock, it'll be Kenmore East against Newport. And then the nightcap will be Will North against Orchard Park. Orchard Park, a team, remember, they started the year with 20-0 on the season. So they'll face off against Williamsville North.
That was last year, and nobody was talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't get a word anywhere. We kind of dropped the ball as well. I'm not pointing fingers at any media outlets. I'm just saying Orchard Park last year, I mean, they were super strong, undefeated, as you mentioned, and you didn't know about it until the end of the year. So, that's why we kind of changed our philosophy on where we're going to go. Like, we were just primarily Northtown last year. I don't think we went to Harbor Center until it was late in the year. So that's why we're incorporating Harbor Center games.
Yeah.
Can't miss them.
Those are games for hockey this week. Yeah. So Thursday, we're doing the Northtown triple header, 4:30, 6 o'clock, 8:15.
Kenmore East, this number jumped out at me. Through 9 games, they've only given up 4 goals. And Grand Island, through 6 games, I believe, played, they've given up 2 goals. That's pretty crazy. So things are going to get very interesting in boys hockey as we come up. Orchard Park, by the way, through 4 games, has given up just 3 goals. So that just tells you how competitive they are, playing in that ECIC 1 division. That's, that's your Will North, that's your Clarence, and West Seneca West bumped up into there as well as Sweet Home Depew. They seem to struggle. Always, hardworking team. Just they tend to struggle in the standings. But who knows? I think they will drop down. I don't know if they drop down to that Division 2 or not.
So I think the large school is going to be ECIC 1, if memory serves me right. So you have Lancaster, Clarence, Orchard Park, Will North, West Seneca, West Frontier, Sweet Home. I think some version of that. Most of those teams are going to be in the large Division 1.
Your large schools are Lancaster, Clarence, Orchard Park, Will North, and then Lockport, Niagara Falls.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I forgot that they did.
So that small
did that.
school is like a huge juggernaut. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many good teams there. That's where things really get interesting. I mean, the large schools don't even have a pre-quarter finals, whereas the small schools have to go through the pre-quarters, which we'll be carrying on NFHS when the time comes. But Francis, you've got a log jam at the top there. You got 10 teams. You know, I don't even know. Yeah, all the way from Iroquois Alden down to Kenmore West, you got a combined maybe 8 losses out of all those teams combined. 5 in the division total. So I mean, it's going to be very interesting. But there's West Seneca West, maybe not having the greatest of seasons, but they're playing up in that ECIC 1. They only have 1 win on their schedule. But how tough is West Seneca West going to be once it comes down towards that playoff time?
Yeah, I think
they'll be ready to go.
Yeah, they'll be ready to go, and I think it's gonna kind of be who's the hottest team. Remember this hockey season compared to other sports, it's like kind of similar to basketball. It's kind of like who's hot.
Yeah.
And who's got the hot goalie.
Goaltending.
Talk about it. Right now, it's the NFL teams that seem to have the hot goalies. The ECIC 2s aren't really quite as strong. But who knows? There could be an injury. Something could flip. Maybe that Iroquois Alden goalie. They figure out their situation in net, and they then they counteract that scoring. Because remember, when we saw Iroquois Alden earlier in the season, they faced a Sweet Home Dubuque team. Axelson scored 4 goals, but they really needed him to do it because they won that game 5-4. So once they figure out, so look at where Iroquois Alden is, and they're struggling right now on the back end. If they can figure that out, this is going to be a scary team.
Yeah, and the website section6boyshockey.com is pretty good with the skaters. With the goaltending, they're having issues with the Redcoats getting the goaltending stats in there. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to figure it out. The guys at the Harbor Center do a phenomenal job, but for one reason or another, the Redcoats are not getting in the goalie stats the way they're supposed to. But I will tell you, one goalie that's standing out is, I believe it's David D's son, Brendan D. at Lancaster, someone you're going to want to keep an eye on. I know he's had 4 games already, and I want to say 2 shutouts, so he's having a pretty good season. David saved our butt last year at Harbor Center, remember, when we did states?
Yeah, he was a big help to us.
Huge help. So hopefully David will be able to help us and contribute that weekend again this year with his crew from Kenesha. So we'll talk to him. In the girls' side of things, Francis, it's the Kenji team. They're still undefeated. I believe they have a big game coming up with Hughes. If not this week, the following week they'll play Hughes. But Hughes has a big one coming up against Flop this week. That's Monday out at, where did I see where that game was? It's in West Seneca, I believe. Maybe at Kaz?
Kaz
or West Seneca. So Hughes and Flop will be a pretty good game. Those are two right around the records are right around 500 right now.
Sydney, and then we're going to have Hughes against Cash on Thursday.
Yeah, but Sydney Radecki, she's got 15 goals, so she's pacing the league with goals there. And I want to say she had like 4 or 5 goals in the game recently. She maybe even 2 hat tricks in the same game. She went off.
They've had a couple hat tricks to start the year.
Yeah, so she's a girl you're going to want to keep your eye on.
The league.
Yeah. So that's a big game coming up for them. So that's Monday, Flop Hughes, and then Tuesday. Then the very next day, Hughes plays Kenji Port. That's Kenmore West, Kenmore East, Grand Island, and Lockport. They play 8 o'clock at Lincoln. We can't stream at Lincoln. That's a tough one to do.
Yeah, it's too cold there. I even have to wear pants. That's how cold it is.
That's big time.
That means we go under the 35-degree barrier is what happens. He's got very specific degrees when the pants
40.
comes out.
40.
Oh,
But
40,
Francis,
sorry.
what caught my attention, and it's early, but like Williamsville, under 500. Monsignor Martin, under 500. St. Mary's Lancaster, new program, but under 500.
Well, but they're actually. I think St. Mary's is one of the bigger surprises of the year. I mean, you talked their first game. Remember last year their season ended with what, a 6-0, 7-0 loss to Monsignor Martin. They start the year with an overtime win over that very same team. And so I think St. Mary's, even though they are still struggling, they're looking for that first win. You can tell they're taking steps in the right direction, and And obviously Monsignor Martin is definitely underachieving this year. But you can see that program is certainly taking steps, and they're really going to compete in this league, which, I have to say, with 9 teams is kind of perfect. And this is where they want to be as a league. They don't need 27 schools. They don't need 27 teams, I should say. Because you got to remember, these girls still play travel in the middle of their season, unlike the boys who have a split season. That's why you see for the girls, they don't play any weekend games. They're playing Monday through Thursday, and oftentimes after they play their game, they have to go to another game or another practice for their other team. So they really like the way their league is set up. They get a nice even 16 games, then get into their playoffs. So this league is, I think, in very good shape. I know that's a bit of a controversial take out there, but I think this league is in really good shape right now with these teams. And, if you can get 9 teams and, talking to people in this league, this is one of those leagues where the team, can struggle to start out, but by the end of the year, they're right in the thick of it. And how many times have we seen a team that's, in 4th place and 3rd place and 5th place come out and win sectionals?
Yep, Kenmore, prime example. You got to have that hot goaltender, and anything can happen. And most of the teams have that one dominant line. The team with 2 dominant lines and good to great goaltending usually comes out. So we'll have to wait and see. And we got a nice sneak peek at some of the teams like Clinton and Skaneateles earlier in the season. I know Flop was just playing a team out, Central New York. I believe they just went out and played a team out that way. Correct me if I'm wrong. Might have even been the last couple of days.
Lid and Flop, Lida, or I'm calling Aldi, but we'll see if that catches on. They played, Messina actually came here.
Okay.
And let's see. Lid won their game and Flop lost to Messina. So, that's
you mean Aldi?
Yeah, Aldi.
Turning our attention to bowling, on the boys' side of thing, Falconer is rolling at 5-0. Tom, you were a big bowler. Mm-hmm. Maple Grove 7-0. A couple other teams in Division III, a CCAA, Salamanca, and Genesee Valley looking pretty good over there. And the ECIC North Large, Star Point's 4-0 right now. And the small side of things, Maryvale looking pretty good. And this is on the boys' side of things. West Seneca, East and Frontier. It's the same schools that you read about. JFK, they were strong last year. We saw them at sectionals. They're undefeated 5-0. And then what else can you say about Niagara Falls? They've got great boys basketball program and a very good bowling program over there. And then, of course, the track teams are phenomenal. Baseball team not too shabby either.
Oh, absolutely.
Baseball day right around the corner, buddy. I got to remind him, right?
The baseball games are all locked in fact.
We're going to talk about it. We got to spend a whole day on there.
But we've got to work on the softball invites.
Yeah, the city schools, McKinley and Bennett and Olmsted are all undefeated. On the girls' side of things in bowling right now, Buffalo, it's McKinley, Olmsted, and City Honors playing pretty well so far early in the season. Fredonia girls at 4-0. Go Lady Hillbillies. Forestville 5-1. What? Allegheny Limestone are 4-0. Clarence. Again, it's the same teams you read about year after year. It's very good at bowling. Maryvale. Where's that Dunkirk team? I got to go all the way down to ECIC. I don't know where they are. What's going on, Dunkirk ladies? 1-3. Got to do better than that. I'm going bowling today, by the way. New Year's Eve.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Rock and Bowl?
I don't know. What is that?
It's usually where you can win prizes and stuff that you said.
Oh, there's no prizes for this form. It's a get off the lane, pal.
It used to be there was always the fun one when they'd have like if the colored pin comes down in a certain spot, you get a chance to like win stuff where the pin comes down. It's fun. Yeah, I just my competitive days are over, and I can't not be competitive in bowling. So you're not getting me out there.
So he says, Kenmore and North Tonawanda are also undefeated in Niagara Frontier League. So we're going to try and get out and do a bowling stream somewhere. We'll get Jeremy Becker involved, a guy down in the Jamestown who's our bowling guru. Why don't we do this? I know Matt O'Rourke is ready to knock down this wall. And what? Oh, hang on a second. Hang on. Before we take a break.
Yeah, we got some
Yeah, just two things.
Tom
I wanna
Prince has
update
two
is
words for you.
Two recognition from cross country. First of all, comes from senior Angelina Napoleon. She was named cross country athlete of the year. She finishes 16th at the Champ Sport National Race in San Diego. So think about that, 16th nationally, just unbelievable. The other one, who was the cross country runner of the year, sophomore Lily Bogdan from Frontier. She won the Nike Cross Nationals New York Regional, and then she was 34th at the national event in Portland. Just two, like I said, we've got some big track people that we're going to be talking about, especially as the indoor season heads into it.
And we do get some messages on social media. Why aren't we out here and there? We can't live stream track, and here's why. There's too many events going on at once, and if we are showing pole vault but not the relay, you can't do one and not finish it. You got to watch the whole event. It's too hard for us. We don't have the technology to pull off like gymnastics. We tried that one time. We got butchered online. We got a lot of nasty messages because we're showing the floor, and then we go over to the rings, and then we go over to this. They're like, just show one event. Okay, well, we show one event, and we miss something over here, and now these people are mad. It's a no-win situation for us. So we want to do something with track. We just don't know how to do it or put it together. If you have ideas and you want to help us, we're all mostly volunteer here, folks. If you want to help us pull off somehow doing track, send your suggestions to, what's your Gmail address, Tom?
WNYTomPrince@gmail.com. Nice and easy one. But I do have an idea.
We'd love to do
I
it.
have some ideas already.
Okay.
So I think we should, we'll sit down and talk about it. The thing that people need to understand with a track event, it's an all-day event. It's an all-day event because you've got to remember, you've got different prelims, right?
Yes. Yeah,
you've
the
got
heats.
semis, you've got finals, you've got sometimes different heats are associated with it. There's a lot that is involved with this. I do believe there is a way that we could do, but it's going to probably mean that we're running off 1, 2, 3 different computers.
Yeah.
Is what it needs to be to be able to do about it, which takes a lot of time, and we've got to have kind of an all hands on deck to be able to do it. And for those of you in Western New York, we only got a few amount of producers within our our organization. 3 of them are sitting right here, right? Yeah. Outside of us 3, you add Tim Gardner into the mix, right? We really only have 2 other ones that are even out there in Dana and Heidi.
Yeah.
So
Jeremy,
and Jeremy. So I apologize. I don't want to. And Jeremy and Alex can at times too help us out. But it's a big.
It's not as simple as turning on a camera. There's so much beneath the surface.
But
is there a way to do it? Absolutely.
Yes.
But some events would have to be shown in like a tape delay.
That's why you're going to need to do it. Bingo. Yes. That's how you do it. You nailed it to a T. That's how it's got to be done. And that's how they do it live at a track event anyway.
Yeah.
If you notice, well, again, listen, if everyone who doesn't know it, I'm a track guy. All right? I want to be down there and doing this. I'm a former high jump. I competed at the state championships at high jump. Trust me, I want to show track and field. Yeah. We're just trying to get it down to find out what the right way in order to do this is. So if you watch a track event, even at the Olympics, I'm sure you've watched track at the Olympics, right? They will come back to the high jump. They will come back to the long jump and show what's going on. I think that's what we're going to need to be able to do. And if we have it, so that one, let's say the long jump, right, is committed to this computer. Once the long jump goes up, it then goes to our thing to where we can drag it in and bring it into the main broadcast and then be able to show it. So there are things we're going to be able to do. It's just going to take time, and we're going to try to figure out how to do it. And it'll be very specific on what time frames and all different things that we'll have to work with the heads of track and field.
We definitely didn't forget it. We don't forget about the track and field stars. We love them. It's just we don't have the manpower. We haven't had the manpower to really give it justice, to do it justice.
Well,
and
Tom, we have some runners who actually went to national events, right?
Yeah, that's what we just talked about.
We did talk about them?
Yeah, I just went over.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Wow.
Well, I don't want to waste any more of Matt O'Rourke's time. He's got a thick book worth of wrestling knowledge he wants to share with you folks. We're going to bring him in after a word from our sponsors. You're watching WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday on Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. Welcome back. We'll welcome you back in a moment.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, large or small, call 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab right away. If you are in pain or just sore, don't take chances. Call RES today and take advantage of their 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. With no copays, RES will help navigate the confusing world of no-fault insurance with you, so you can concentrate on getting better. 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. The most important call you can make after an auto accident.
300 Level Media is a locally owned and operated multi-purpose media company right here in Western New York. You'll find us everywhere, covering the Bills, Sabres, Buttes, Bisons, Big Four basketball, local college sports, and much more. Our staff offers a variety of media services, from video production, live event coverage, audio broadcasts, professional voiceovers, camera operation, and videography. Visit www.300levelmedia.com or give us a call at 716-427-2600. This is 300 Level Media.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
A great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500 plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Welcome back to High School Sports Saturday, WNYathletics.com. It's not as bright and early as you think it is. I mean, 9 to 11 is
It's
not
not
bad.
as bright.
It's definitely not as bright. There's nothing bright in this room right now, I can tell you that. Except for O'Rourke.
Smile.
O'Rourke is here to talk high school wrestling. He's the gentleman to my right. Your left, my right. Your left, Tom, too. Matt O'Rourke, nobody does high school wrestling like Matt O'Rourke. If you have a question, send it into our Facebook page. I'm monitoring that closely. I'll get it into O'Rourke. But, Matt, you've been, like usual, on top of wrestling like nobody's business. So what's going on in the world of wrestling? We've been streaming on Wednesday nights. You've been there. Yeah. We've done 2 events so far. We're going to be doing Saturday, Lancaster. Go nuts.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. We did Yes, we did. We've done a couple live streams already. Wednesdays we saw Kenmore and Niagara Falls get after it a few weeks ago. And then who did we see last week? I already forgot.
Newfane and Wilson.
Newfane and Wilson, right. Francis made it up to Newfane and complimented the after match arrangements. So shout out Newfane. Senior night, and it was very nice of them to invite us to partake in some pizza and refreshments afterwards. So thank you. Yeah. You missed out.
Banker, Brett Banker, Kenton, what up, dude? No pizza?
No.
It's the one time I go out. All right, we'll put Newfane back on the schedule for next year, and we'll have to discuss going back to Kenton.
Yeah. I mean, they're always willing to have us. I mean, that's for sure. I'm tight with those guys, obviously. Shout out Kevin.
Yeah,
Matt
well,
Lingle.
he's a new coach, is he not? In Kenmore? No new coaches
Oh,
in
no,
Kenmore?
Kenmore. Oh, yeah, Dave Wilcox. Yeah, he's been there a couple years now.
All right, he's still kind of new, so he doesn't understand the importance of having a refreshment for the media.
Yeah, well, he'll get. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get him this time. Yeah, he'll get the picture after this, right?
He's going to, yes. Hate mail.
Oh, he's doing a nice job over there with the rest. Otherwise, it's all I'm concerned about. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, we got had some good live streams so far. Getting ready to do the Section 6 dual meet tournament next Saturday at Lancaster. I think we're gonna have.
Matt, explain that, because for people that don't watch wrestling, don't understand what's about to happen, because it's in essence a state qualifier in the middle of the season.
That's right.
So why don't you explain how that works? Because if I'm not a wrestling guy, I don't understand what's going on right now.
Well, it's the state qualifier part of it is fairly new. I believe we're only on year 5 of the actual. Yeah, we're on year 5 of the NISFA sanctioned dual meet state tournament. Section's been doing it here for 6 years. There's been 6 tournaments. Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to scheduling, right? Other sections may do NISFA, the wrestling committee said, when this guy introduced, they said, you can basically, you don't necessarily have to have a tournament. It's up to the sections how they qualify their team to get there. So you could just say, for example, let's say, I know in Section 5 they did it a couple years ago, Hilton was very good, or Spencerport, one of them, I'm sorry if I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were good enough where the section was like, Hilton's gone, here you go. They didn't have like a tournament that we had on that particular occasion. I believe they maybe had like a wrestle off, but it wasn't like a full, 8-team bracket, big school, small school type of thing. Section 6, we do the NISFA tournament it's been the last week of January recently. It is again this year too, I believe January 28th, that's a Saturday. The 27th, I'm sorry, I forget which one. But the NISFA dual meet tournament is also well before, the class tournaments or the CHSAA tournament, the sectional tournaments and the state tournament. I mean, you have two state championship events, sanctioned state championship events in the season. One a dual event, one an individual event. You have to find a way to work them in at the same. You know what I mean?
Real quick, just for those out there, what exactly is a dual event, and how is that different from the state championships? Because it's kind of like 2 different championships. It's kind of it's kind of a team championship, and then you get into the individual stuff. Can you explain a little more what exactly the duals are?
Yeah, well, I mean, the duals is just that. It's just team. It's a team event. The individual event is just that. It's weight class, bracketed, seeded tournaments, one-on-one. You get your individual Section 6 champion or your individual Monsignor Martin champion or CHSAA champion. The dual event it's a team thing. It's just completely 100% team thing. You weigh in as a team. You have limited. You make scratch weight. It's just team score. That's all.
Do things get a little bit more technical in the duels? I think we see this often where maybe you'll give a match to your opponent to have maybe a 135 guy. Maybe he matches up better with their 140.
Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
you
like
see
throwing out a forfeit. Or
yeah.
It's basically just like the same. It's the same strategy as you see on a nightly basis when you have a high level. You expect that basically all the duels are going to be good if you're inviting the top 8 teams in the section or the top 16 teams in the state. You expect that all the duels are all going to be good. You imagine, you hope for full lineups, you hope for limited, if any forfeits at all. And yeah, I mean, you weigh in guys at the same weight, you bump guy. I mean, and it also doesn't count against points as well. And I believe it does count for a weigh-in. Could be wrong, but I believe it does. So you'll see guys weigh in maybe at a weird weight, based on where they're seated, right? Say like, Faulkner's been there every year. So say Coach Wilcox sees, he sees who he's drawn in with in a pool or seated in with a pool, looks at their lineup, sees like last year they wrestled Edgemont and Governor. Maybe he weighs in somebody in a different weight where they might not see that weight the rest of the season. It's usually obviously going to be heavy because we have minimum weight program and stuff. But yeah, you see some crazy stuff like that for any, usually the top teams are the top teams. There's not a lot of Minnesink Valley last year. We saw Tioga, right? Francis, we saw both of those teams. There's really not much a lot of people can do about those. But I mean, for if you can't, you're not going to win it. Making the semifinals, winning your pool, winning as many matches as possible is always the goal.
So basically, we're going to have the duels, Section 6 duel, large and small at Lancaster Saturday.
Yep.
After that, though, the top 2 teams from each will go to Syracuse, or just the top 1?
Not necessarily. It's a wild card system.
It's like the Wild West.
There's an at-large system. So the automatic qualifier is your champion, right? Your automatic qualifier is your champion, and then we have been fortunate enough in Section 6 to where our coaches have done their homework, and we have strong leadership, obviously, at the sectional committee level, to where we've gotten in 4 teams, I think, more than any other area in the state. I mean, last year we hit a record. We had 4 teams last year again, right? 4 teams last year again. All 4 of them won at least a match. 2 of them won 2 matches and reached the semifinals as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that was huge. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, especially for our area.
Yeah. So.
Any area, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so when
that was
will
the first
they?
time, right? Yes, that was the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
Out of all the 11 NISFA sections that have wrestling, that was the very first time that's happened.
After Lancaster, though, they go to Syracuse, and when is that weekend? That's in January, or is it in February?
It's in January, and
Okay.
I think, Francis, I'm not sure if you'll be there. I know I will.
Francis will be there.
27th and so the 27th is a Friday, and actually that is going to be the first NISFA sanctioned girls invitational. So I'll actually be there on Friday for that, hanging out with. I was talking to Carl Koenig from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Shout out Carl, and sent me an invitation to come and generate, be mat side for that. So I'm definitely going to be there for that. 28th though is the actual tournament. It's just a 1-day tournament, January.
Okay.
And our duels are the 7th. And obviously, I believe in the past, someone can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past they were maybe like the 14th, or like a week before the state duels, or 2 weeks before the state duels. But if you remember, in 2019, the weather kind of knocked it out.
Yeah, I thought they were this early before, and then we had to back them out due to a weather scenario, is what it was.
Well, yeah, there's some extra time in there just in case it has to get canceled again. There was the one debacle in 2019, right, where the tournament had to get canceled because of weather, and
you guys are good.
Francis messing around over here. Just kidding. Where the tournament had to get canceled, and we had to auto qualifier the top seeds in big school, small school, and then it was just a whole thing. Wheatfield ended up getting in and doing pretty well at that tournament as well, as an at-large qualifier. But yeah, there's a little bit extra time baked in there in case a weather event happens and they need to go to an alternative plan.
I want to talk about some of the top teams that we're expected to see in Syracuse, but why don't we take a quick break, get a word from our sponsor, we'll be back. You're watching WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday with Frank Wolf, Tom Prince, Francis Beck, and Matt O'Rourke.
With exclusive buyer insights and our 100% money-back guarantee, we're confident we'll find buyers for your home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective pediatric care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Welcome back to WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday. Frank Wolf, Tom Prince, Francis Beck, and the lovely and talented Matt O'Rourke, the wrestling community's guru, the guy who makes wrestling go here in Western New York. Matt, we were just talking about the duels, and I wanted to get into Lancaster specifically. Well, before we get to Saturday, is there a hot event this Wednesday somewhere? Is there a big match coming up?
It's funny you ask because, yes, there is. Lancaster will be at Williamsville North for a ranked ECIC 1 showdown between two unbeaten ECIC 1 teams. I don't know if we were able to live stream that, but I was probably going to go over there at least and check it out. I know Saturday is going to be a big day for us, but
let me get back to you, but I think we can. I could get over there and produce.
Okay.
I should be able to get over there and produce. If you could do the mic, and we could just get a stationary camera if someone's not available. But we should be able to do that one.
All right, that'd be cool. I know they'd appreciate it.
What time? Varsity 7?
6.
Okay.
Figure on 6.
Should be able to get there.
But yeah, that'd be cool.
I got your back, bro.
Okay. You can see your buddy Cam.
Your buddy Cam.
Big weekend this weekend.
Your buddy Cam.
Pennsylvania.
I like Cam.
Yep.
Yes.
There's
you know what?
Wednesday's always a big night, especially in ECIC 1. All of the teams are pretty evenly matched. Even Lancaster this year was very powerful last year, very strong again this year. But some of the other teams in that division are the parity level is getting good, which is good for wrestling. I mean, you don't want to waste your time with forfeits and traveling around and stuff like that. You want full lineups. You want good quality matches, and I know the guys at Lancaster well, and I know that that's something that they want and pride themselves on is winning close matches like that and earning it. You know what I mean?
So breaking news, we're going to be live streaming Lancaster at Will North on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. Who are some of those big teams? You mentioned Lancaster, Will North. Who are the other large schools that we expect to see there? I am assuming Niagara Falls, Wheatfield, but Clarence.
Yeah, you can expect Star Point will probably be.
So they are large.
Yeah.
Okay.
They will probably. I can't say they will be because I don't know, and I'm not a decision maker in this. I'm guessing that they'll be the top seed. They have some pretty big time wins so far this season, and a loaded roster of talented wrestlers we can probably talk about at some point. But yeah, you'll see Star Point. I imagine, and also it's getting into the duels isn't just a hand-picked selection process. Coaches have to apply for it before the season starts and say, here's my letter of intent, and 2, they have to sign something that says, we will, if we get invited, we will come, we will commit to coming to the event to kind of lock them into
Okay.
that. So, which is common. We're not the only ones who do it. It's common around the state to do that.
Why wouldn't a team want to get in there?
Not deep enough, or they say they know they can't win it anyway. I'm a huge advocate for the duels. I think it's the best thing for the dual meet environment in the section.
You're very passionate about that.
Very passionate about it. I think it's a great thing for your program, even if you know you can't win the dual meet tournament. Putting on your program's resume that we were good enough to make the duels. We went to the duels. Yeah, so what? We were the 8th seed, but guess what? We were considered one of the top 8 teams in the section. That's a great program resume builder that you can take to your youth kids or in your community or what have you. Obviously, the top teams are probably the top 3 or 4 teams. I can't say the top teams because Lancaster's was the 4 seed last year and ended up winning the thing again. Just like the previous time they won a couple years ago, they were not the top seed. So it's not always the top seed who wins.
And Lancaster won, and wasn't the second team that got in was Star Point, wasn't it? That got the at-large?
That's correct.
And the large. So in your estimation, are those the top 2 going into this right now?
I would say right now probably Star Point, and I would say Niagara Wheatfield has had a really strong season, and they might have been flying under the radar a little bit at the start of the season, but they are not flying under it now. They're just flying well above it right now. So,
and who are the other teams we got to watch out for?
Niagara Falls, Lancaster, Hamburg, Eden was a combined function this year. Amherst has had a very strong season. Williamsville North has a dangerous roster. Frontier is solid again, well coached. Coach Chowski and the gang down there. Orchard Park, they might be a fringe team to get into the duels. Coach Teal is doing a fantastic job down there and has for a couple of years. They go to the Pioneer Hillcrest duels and they mix it up with a really strong group of teams that in the past may have not helped their case to get into the duels, but I know Coach Teal well enough to know that mixing it up with Newfane and Pioneer and Star Point and Hilton and Palmyra Macedon and some of these teams like that is about I mean, he knows his program better than I do, but I would say that him challenging his team like that, even if it ends up costing them to get into the dual meet tournament, is a worthy cause to fight for. So let's see who else. Clarence may be a fringe team as well. I would see getting into that. You may see, and I know that you'll see a bid from North Tonawanda. I mean, Jamestown. I'm not sure if they put in for the duels. They're in a very tough division, but Coach Wald is doing a really nice job down there.
Is Jamestown one of those programs that was rebuilding from a few years ago?
Yeah, they won the ECIC1 title, I want to say like 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
Same thing with West Seneca. They kind of upset things in the league a little bit before, the real vanguards of that league have been Clarence, Lancaster, Hamburg for quite some time. But Jamestown is always obviously rough and tumble. West Seneca under Coach Recor had a nice year, couple nice years a few years ago. But Jamestown under Coach Wald is doing a nice job right now too. And they usually have a couple football wrestler crossovers as well. So that's kind of the landscape for Division I right now. But I would say going into the tournament that we field and Star Point would be your favorites.
Before we get into the small schools, those large school teams you mentioned, pick out 5 to 6 of those guys that have legit shots of not only helping their team maybe win the duel next Saturday, but individually how they can do on a statewide level.
You pick some good teams there. I mean, Star Point has a loaded roster. Just last night, we got the final results from the Powerade tournament in Pennsylvania, which is one of the best tournaments nationally anywhere. I mean, I think they had over 50 ranked high school wrestlers, either ranked number-wise or honorable mention in this tournament. We had 3 representatives, 2 place winners. 2 of those representatives were Griffin and Gage LaPlante from Star Point. Gage is a junior, Griffin a freshman, and both unseeded. Gage ends up placing 8th at Powerade, which is an enormous, and currently unseeded in the country. We may see him pop into the rankings in the country after this. Places at Powerade after starting unseeded. Pins took down a couple of top-seeded guys, like the 7 seed, decked him, I forget where he's from, but he had an outstanding tournament, and then Griffin went 2-2 as a freshman at 139 pounds as well, which is not an easy weight class for a freshman to be in. So great experience for both of those two. And then I'll mention also we saw Cam Catcherbone in his finally punched through to the finals. He goes to a ton of big-time tournaments, was 3rd at Beast of the East this season, was 3rd at Powerade last year, made the finals yesterday. Unfortunately, fell in overtime in a really close match in sudden victory.
Could have gone either way.
Yep. So I had a good time following their weekends, and this weekend was a big one. This week, it's not the weekend. This week post Christmas is always a big week. Windsor, we had wrestlers down there. Star Point was at 3 different places this weekend. Coach Hart, talked to him daily pretty much. They had guys at the Akron tournament. He had 6 or 7 guys at Windsor. 5 of them placed, and they ended up top 3 in the tournament, which is one of the longest held wrestling tournament in the state of New York. And then Griffin and Gage were in Powerade. So they probably would have won if Griffin and Gage were at Windsor, but they were at Powerade mixing it up with some of the best in the country.
This is my question, because this is what I always got lost in. What does Hurt do in that situation? He's got guys here, guys there, guys there.
Oh, that's a good question. One of the things we talk about a lot, and I learn quite a bit from the coaches around here. I'm not just for any of them that are listening, I'm not just someone that writes stuff down and puts it on as news. I very much take to heart some of the lessons that I'm a student of the game as well, and one of the big things that he has always advocated for, or one of the big parts of his program that he wants people to know about is his assistant coaching staff. He's got one of the best assistant coaching staffs, maybe the best in this area, maybe even upstate New York. He relies heavily on his puts his assistant coaches in a place that they can help his program, and he returns the favor by coaching this team the best he can, doing everything he can for this program, and elevating everyone's. I don't know. They're involved. I don't know what you want to say. The involvement in the sport, you get back what you put into it, type of thing.
So he's sending a coach here with the LaPlantes.
Yeah, I mean, right. So Kyle McGregor, who is an all-time great from Tonawanda High School, is on his staff. Kellen Devlin, Obviously, we know him, a 3-time New York State champ. Is on his staff at Starpoint. They were at Powerade. Coach Hart and his gang were at Windsor, and then I believe he had a couple assistant coaches here at the one-day tournament at Akron as well, where he also placed top 10 as a team at that tournament as well.
Without those guys?
Without his top guys that were at Windsor, and without his best 2 guys who were at
That
Powerade.
tells you something about a program. They're pretty
It does, yes. And they've come a long way. We know that Wheatfield has always, we know that Starpoint hasn't has had to kind of fight their way to get into the duels. They were a fringe duel team, 5-6 years ago. They're not a fringe duels team anymore, to get into the Section 6 duels, I mean.
And we'll be at Starpoint eventually.
What's that?
On a Wednesday, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, yep.
For a duel.
We'll take a look at their league schedule. So them, Hamburg, and Amherst are all undefeated in ECIC2 at the
Nice.
break. So we will see those 3 teams wrestle each other at some point. Yes. Yep.
Hamburg and Eden?
Yes.
Eden was by themselves last year. Were they not?
Yes, they were. So their numbers, I talked to Coach Page, and unfortunately their varsity signups for this year weren't great. They were able to, luckily, to join forces with Hamburg, and that makes sense, right? They're both on Route 62. Hamburg, Eden kids, they all wrestle primarily at Lake Erie Wrestling Club during the season. It's kind of a no-brainer. I know that they will definitely be trying to get back to being independent in the coming years.
Did Eden have a state qualifier last year?
They had 3.
Yeah, so
they had a state finalist.
For them to have to merge, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean the wrestlers that Eden has are well coached. They're good wrestlers. They know what they're doing. Unfortunately, it's just been kind of a numbers thing with them recently. So I have total faith that their kids program is blowing up right now. I have total faith they'll be back to doing their own thing here pretty soon.
Good,
So
good to hear.
But the next best thing. It was either kind of merge forces this year or not wrestle, and that's just not an option. So
nice.
So
okay, some more of those large school wrestlers that we need to hear about, that we need to know.
All right, we talked about Griffin and Gage. You want large school, or are we talking?
No, we'll stick with the large schools because we got a whole hour with you.
Yeah, Griffin and Gage.
You're chained to that chair.
Niagara Falls obviously returns we saw them return four state qualifiers, 4 section champions. Junior Reynolds, who was a wrestler of the week a couple weeks ago, is having a great season. He's a returning 7th place state finisher. And Jaden Crumpler was a returning state finalist.
Did we see Crumpler at Kenton?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yep,
because they had someone that wasn't available that day or was hurt.
Yeah, Jaden wrestled though, so he's having a great season. Looks really strong. We should see these guys all placing the state tournament again this year. Hopefully, Jaden is. Any of these guys on their best day, I think, can win a state title. Gage is going to be a real threat to knock off some people who I don't know who's going to be seated above him. 8th Powerade is pretty good. From Wheatfield, Juicy Tayshawn, I call his nicknames Juicy. Juicy Matthews is having a great season. He just won the Specialist Ken Haynes Memorial Tournament in Oswego, which is a big 2-day tournament with mostly Section 3. It's mostly some Section 4, Section 10.
They like going
teams.
up there.
They go there. Yeah, I remember in high school I wrestled at that tournament, and I saw Wheatfield, and I was like, who's Wheatfield? Who's this guy with the glasses? Who do you think it was?
Well, I know it wasn't Aunt Jean. It was Uncle Ricky.
Coach Rick, that's right.
Yeah.
So I saw, so they've been going up to that for quite some time. It's a good tournament. It's a good tournament for them. They obviously have talented wrestlers who can compete at this tournament. They placed 4th as a team. They had a bunch of place winners. They placed all the way down to 8th place there. It's a big 2-day tournament. They get a lot of out of section, I think sometimes Newfane will go to that. Wheatfield is normally the only Section 6 team there, though, so they see mostly Section 3 teams, a couple Section 4, a couple Section 5, 10, 2 usually, so it's a good mix of teams.
Nice.
And it's also good because they get some good tie-ins as well with Fulton. Sister